Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a pretty dramatic report from Samaa TV all about an alleged Iranian missile attack on Israel. We're going to break down the specific claims they made and really look at how this one news report built such a powerful story around the event.
Wow, the broadcast kicks off with this incredibly powerful line. It immediately frames the whole thing as a catastrophic, decisive blow. It's a huge claim, and it really sets the tone for everything else we're about to unpack from this report. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the attack, at least according to this source. We'll look at the operational details and the specific weapons they claimed were used.
So, the Samaa TV report gives this military action a specific name: Operation True Promise. And, according to their telling, this wasn't just some minor skirmish. Giving it a name like that signals that it was a major, pre-planned operation, one that involved a huge wave of long-range missiles.
And they don't stop there. The report gets super specific, naming 3 distinct types of missiles: Fateh, Qadr, and Emad. See, by listing these out, the source is really trying to add this layer of technical detail to make its claims about the attack's scale and sophistication feel more credible. Okay, now this is the real kicker. The broadcast doesn't just say missiles were fired, it makes this huge claim that Israel's legendary defense system was a complete failure. The implication is that the country was left totally exposed, a sitting duck. So, what was the result of all this? Let's turn to the aftermath and see just how this report paints the picture of destruction on the ground. This next part details the specific places and the level of damage they claimed. First up on the list of targets, Tel Aviv. By claiming a direct hit on this major economic and population hub, the report is suggesting the attack was aimed right at the heart of the country. Then, the report says the southern port city of Elad was also struck. This suggests a really broad geographical scope for the attack, from the center of the country all the way down to its southernmost tip. And finally, Beersheba, a major city in the Negev desert, is also named as a target. So when you put these 3 cities together, the report is really painting a picture of a widespread, coordinated assault. And it's not just about naming cities. The source makes this really dramatic claim: dozens of buildings completely destroyed. The original broadcast used the word malumet, which basically means leveled or razed to the ground. That kind of specific language is designed to paint a picture of just total devastation. And this is where the report starts putting numbers to the human cost. It moves from general destruction to specifics, citing 9 deaths as a direct result of these missile strikes. And on top of the fatalities, the Samaa TV broadcast claimed that over 180 people were injured. That's a much larger number, and it really adds to the narrative they're building of widespread chaos and suffering. Okay, so the narrative takes a really sharp turn here. It zooms in on what it frames as the most strategic and, frankly, the most terrifying target of the whole operation: the Dimona nuclear site. I mean, this is a huge deal within the report's story. By claiming the nuclear center itself was a target, the whole narrative shifts from a conventional military conflict to something with potential nuclear implications, literally. And just so we're all on the same page, you can't really overstate how important Dimona is. It's widely understood to be the very core of Israel's national security and defense infrastructure. So even claiming it was a target is a massive, symbolic, and really provocative move. And this is supposed to be the immediate reaction on the ground. The report claims an emergency was declared not just at the facility, but in the nearby city of Arad, too. They're definitely painting a picture of widespread panic here. Okay, so how did everyone react? Let's look at how the report frames the official response, both from inside the Israeli government and from the international community.
According to this source, the attack just plunged the Israeli government into crisis mode. The report highlights 2 immediate steps. They called an emergency cabinet meeting and shut down all schools and universities across the country. The report uses this really specific and emotional language, saying the Israeli leadership was kolfzada, which translates to terrified or panic-stricken. This characterization is all about conveying a psychological victory, right? The idea that the attack completely shattered the government's sense of security. Then the report brings in an outside, authoritative voice. It quotes Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And his statement goes right to the most alarming part of the story: the attack on Dimona.
and basically calls for restraint from all sides. Now, this is a really interesting detail that's included in the Samaa TV report itself. Even while they're describing this devastating attack on a nuclear site, they also include the IAEA's initial finding that there was no evidence of a radioactive leak. It's a really crucial and kind of surprising point of nuance in their own story. And so, this is where the report leaves us, with this really heavy, sobering question. By focusing so hard on Dimona and bringing in that warning from the IAEA, the broadcast pushes us to consider a terrifying new frontier in modern warfare. What happens when nuclear sites are no longer off limits? That's the critical question this report ultimately leaves hanging in the air.